Last week on this channel, we visited one of the biggest and best tiny house villages that I've ever seen. And this week, we return to take a tour of one resident's tiny home. What's really unique about this tiny house story is that this is actually Brenda's second tiny home. After living in her first tiny house for a few years, she was moving it to a new location when it unfortunately crashed on the highway. So let's hear what she learned from the experience and how she's improved Tiny House 2.0.
Make this house our tiny home.
Hi, my name is Brenda Shireen. Welcome to my tiny house called Just Be Tiny 2.0. I first found out about tiny houses when I was living in Georgia at the time. My family went through some hardships. I ended up moving back west and found myself homeless for a while. I drifted around couch surfing on my friends' couches, and I interviewed, I believe, at least a dozen builders at the time. I contacted Tiny Smart House out of Albany, Oregon, and hit the road, and all I had was my truck. I worked mostly by email on the design, and I met my tiny house in November of 2016. My original tiny house was in an RV park. I stayed there for a year. It was coming up for the warranties on my tanks, and my builder says, well, let's get you up here and let me fix your tanks. When we entered the highway, the trailer started to sway. Then it broke off from the hitch, and the truck went over the embankment with my tiny house on its side. With all my belongings in it, all I did was grab some clothing, and I headed up here and ended up in Tiny Tranquility Park without my tiny. Everything fell into place, even though this was such a hardship. My builder happened to have a tiny house here in the park that my park manager used as a nightly rental, and that's where I stayed while we built this tiny house. This community is a dream come true. It is a wonderful mix of privately owned tiny houses with long-term rentals, as well as a street with nightly rentals that are a mix of tiny houses, vintage trailers, and Airstreams. We are right along the scenic highway. We have access to the pristine multitude of beaches and hiking trails and beauty that's here in Oregon. Come inside. Welcome to my tiny house. This is Just Be Tiny 2.0. This is the entrance to my tiny house and also multifunctional space. This side is a little bench platform. Underneath on one side, I can store my shoes and my boots. On this side, I'm able to prep things and have extra space. It's a fold-down, drop-down table. So it drops down, and then this space turns into my health and fitness area for yoga. I have a smart TV up there, and I can do my stretching and my exercises. These are actual bar stools that I had in my original tiny, and they made it through the accident. I must mention my pendant light because I'm really into supporting local artists no matter where I am in my travels. I picked this out because it really reminds me of the oceans here. This was an original piece. It's an antique Asian wine bar, and I found this in a thrift shop in Los Angeles. It's been with me for many years. We incorporated this into the kitchen area. This is a complete dry bar. It used to only be wine because these wine racks pull out, but now I have glassware and some of my decor and some of my china inside the bar. My designer built this staircase specifically for me so that it's easy for me to reach the loft, and then it has a plethora of storage that I didn't have before. I'm a very outdoorsy person, so I can store all my jackets in here. I have yoga mats. I have my little basket here on the shelf for my garden veggies, because here in the Tiny Tranquility Park we have a greenhouse with our own garden, and I take that to the garden to get my fresh veggies every day. This first step I absolutely love. I use it for the other side of the kitchen in order to reach cookware up on the shelving, and it can be tucked in and out of the way, and I absolutely love it. This is my loft, and this is a queen size memory foam bed. I've never slept better in my life. I have this large window here, which is the exit window in case of an emergency. But what's different about this loft is the fact it has this extra space right here. What I really love that my designer did was coming up the staircase, having this space here, and this wonderful divider, and it's a multifunctional piece, which makes this feel like a complete and utter separate room and separate space. My designer and I came up with this idea to extend my windowsills out by an inch or two. And that allowed for me to strategically place a few items on my windowsills and they wouldn't get knocked off. It's just that little bit of detail that made my space so multifunctional. This was my original Suburban 3-burner stove and oven that was in the original tiny house, and it made it. However, the range hood didn't. The range hood was just smashed, and so this is brand new. Everything for me is open because I want everything functional, reachable, as well as aesthetic. All tiny housers know that your counter space is so precious, so eventually everything that's on my counter is going to get customized up onto the walls. So I have more counter space, but my builder and designer came up with this brilliant idea, and I absolutely in love with it. Little drop down tables, so when I'm cooking I now have an extra space. It happens in a second. I love it. This drop down table, this is acacia wood. It's beautiful wood. These are so multifunctional, and it extends all of my counter space. I absolutely love them. My original fridge didn't make it, so we went with an Insignia, and this fridge has a bottom down freezer. This is the door to my bathroom, and this is the pocket door that was salvaged from my original tiny. So it's really special that my builder was just so kind to me to be able to salvage and work with the things that we could pull out of the original tiny house. I have a Braun fan that I had in the original tiny, and I absolutely love it. It's a light, it's a heater, and exhaust, as well as having a window to be able to get all of the condensation and humidity out of the bathroom. I have a Dometic toilet. I did not opt for composting toilet because I'm not off grid. Having a flush toilet with plumbing underneath the house and being able to just plug up is great. And this is my original sink, but we salvaged that from the original tiny. Here's my horse trough tub. I need to soak my muscles, and I can definitely soak my muscles in this horse trough. Now, I know I'm tiny at 5'2". If it fits me like this, it's luxurious. Absolutely luxurious for a good soak. And I have an entire collection of ducks. I have ducks for every holiday out of the year. I have a St. Patty's duck, I have a Valentine's duck, and it goes on forever, my little collections. I love my tub, I love my bathroom, I love my tiny house. Welcome to my multifunctional day office, guest bed, and my slice of heaven. This is my day bed, and it's on a platform, and it has storage space underneath, and in the middle, this is a tunnel. There's a cat door in there, and it enters into the exterior garden shed. One half of my garden shed is propane, and the other half is a glorified outhouse for my cat. This cat has traveled with me over 20,000 miles. He ended up taking over that shelf, so it became a cat shelf. He likes drinking his water out of a sake cup, and this is his window. I actually designed this window to be that low to watch the birds go by outside. This room feels so big because of the high ceiling and the natural lighting. This half of the room is my office. It's a swing out desk, and it's on acacia wood. I do all of my office work from this space. It has just been a dream come true workstation. This is the other side of my daybed office. This portion of it is an extension of my vanity. I also use this old antique barrel that I've had with me forever, which has storage in it, which is great. And I just push it over to the other side, and I can swing my arm desk around and sit and do heavy data input on that. This is the Shoshigoban treatment. This treatment is water resistant. I recommend anybody who's going to be in an environment that has this much rain and condensation, it's really, really a good treatment for the exterior of a house. So this is on double axle, 24-foot trailer, 8.5 standard feet wide, and at its highest point, 13.5 standard height. And this model is called the Pacific Northwest Mountaineer. This side of the exterior shed contains my propane tanks. I have a 5-gallon and a 7-gallon propane tank, and there's a regulator in there, and it works wonderfully. It has air vents, and inside I have a carbon monoxide alarm. And the most brilliant part of this shed is I actually gave up using it as a garden shed, and I got a garden box because we designed this to be an exterior cat litter box. It's this private outhouse, I call it. It has a cat door, and basically I just come out here to clean out his litter box. What I learned is to let go of perfection, because I have salvaged everything. All of my things I've either tried to repair or have recycled or reclaimed. And I'm so happy and cozy in here. It's truly amazing how everything gelled and how everything fell into place, and how well I handled the hardship, because I'd had so much former hardship that when my tiny house crashed, I mean, I could have crashed too, and I didn't.
Thanks for tuning in this week. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you next week with a new video.